Thanks so much for your time. I am Pius Kojo Baka. We can now settle for the stories now. And the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has given an indication that the media budget will review or focus on measures that will promote the growth of the economy and tighten expenditure. To this end, he has been calling for support from commercial banks and other financial sector players as part of stakeholder meeting on the budget review. Speaking to Joy Business after a short engagement with industry players, Dr. Amin Adam stated that the support of financial institutions will be crucial in the next half of the year. There is more in the following reports.
This will be the last media budget presentation before the country goes to the polls in December, the reason many stakeholders fear there could be budget overruns. However, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has assured there won't be any new measures to demand budget funding. He pledged that there will be prudent fiscal measures. The meeting with the financial sector players aimed to improve public-private partnership funding in the next half of the year due to government's resolve not to spend beyond the budget target. Dr. Amin Adam has been speaking with Joy Business.
Because we want to achieve our debt sustainability levels. And so the banks will have to come in and play that critical role of providing financing to the private sector. And this is one of the major reasons we are meeting with the banks. And so we expect the mid-year budget review to announce a few measures on how we can promote economic growth and to get the banks to appreciate where we are going and to be aligned with our expectations is really important because they will help in financing the private sector participation to enable us achieve accelerated growth rate for the development of our country.
The Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, Jonewa, also assured that banks will play their important role to support growth.
Banks have already been at the forefront of support for the economy. From the DDEP, banks led the community of bondholders into taking the debt restructuring, participating in the debt restructuring, as we all saw. So as banks, so long as it does not unduly impose risk on the industry, we are ever ready to support with the economic recovery, knowing very well that as the economy recovers, we also then get a sound environment where business will thrive and banks can provide the needed support without adding on to the impairment risk that we presently are facing.
Government also announced the decision not to undertake another action program in order to build investor confidence.
Let's have a conversation in the back of this. Joining us via Zoom is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa. Thanks so much, Dr. Amwa, for agreeing to speak to us on Business Live. First off, I want to understand how crucial is such engagements with financial sector players ahead of the media budget review?
Very much. Yes, such an engagement is very important because you need the deposit taking, especially the banks, in this case, to help you to drive your policies and your agenda. You see, the banks provide the oil that will lubricate the wheels of the economy in terms of the needed finance or the financial support by way of lending and sometimes even the payment system. So if the banks do not have a fair appreciation of what is in the budget and how it is going to impact them, their operations, then it becomes a bit difficult. So before the review, the right thing is to engage an important constituent like the banks and the allied financial institutions so you can get their concern and then address their concern in the budget. But the question is, are these concerns really factored into the finality of the budget? We have heard time and time again after the budget is read. And if you have engaged some of these stakeholders, what you hear is that, yes, we are consulted, but then our concerns have not been addressed. So in an attempt to be transparent, in an attempt to get the banks to be part of the value creation for the next 6 months, it is good that whatever agreement is reached as such an engagement is infused into the budget so that the banks will be comfortable to play the much needed role of supporting the economy to grow as expected.
And when you take a careful listen to the government, they are hoping that the media budget will will focus on measures that will promote growth of the economy and, of course, tighten expenditure. And I want to know, to what extent can the financial sector, make this a reality?
If you pick the banks, for the banks, it is more about creating loans, right? Creating loans and supporting businesses. That is where the banks will contribute comfortably. Now, if you look at the triggers of banks' intention to support a loan request, it's about how good the macroeconomy is. Seriously, if the macroeconomy environment is not supportive to lending, no bank will risk giving out a loan. As we speak now, T-bill, 1 year T-bill is quoted at about 27.87. Ghana reference rate is about 29.35. In other words, you are likely to get a loan around 32%. And we have gone through a regime of increasing interest rate. NPLs, non-performing loans, are increasing. So clearly realize that the bank's posture to lend or not to lend will be how these factors will support their lending business. And clearly, with these high figures we are seeing by way of interest rate, Ghana reference rate, high NPLs, no bank will comfortably be lending. They would rather prefer to do investment or at best pass on their money to Bank of Ghana as part of they not being able to meet the cash reserve ratio so that they can have their money than to risk the funding. What am I saying? In the budget, government should try as much as possible to create the environment that will make it conducive and easy for the banks to lend. The banks are in to create value from lending. And they will easily do that if the environment supports. But if the environment is not supportive, no bank will risk giving out loans.
And Dr. Amoah, we know how government spends in an election year, as per the literature, has been. How would this engagement help in ensuring government remains committed to being fiscally prudent to avert budget overruns, especially through the advancement of funds, etc.?
If you ask me, I will say it is coming a bit too late in terms of the numbers that we have seen. We are almost halfway through July, and we are recording inflation of about 22, interest rate, T-bill 1 year of about 27, Ghana reference rate about 29.35. Clearly, for these benchmarks to decline in the next 3 months, 4 months before an election is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort to get them to get to appreciable levels to drive the economy. What the banks may do is just to keep taking what I call moderated risk or measured risk. Because at the end of the day, it is government saying that I am going to be fiscally prudent. And it's about you, the bank, sourcing for funds from the public to create loans. How do you manage your liquidity and to manage your loan books? It is not your responsibility to go and then support, assuming the government is not committed, to pushing your resources in areas that will expose you. No, the banks will look at what they can do that will keep them going. And so it is up to government to rather do what they can do as what they have said. Because the banks will not follow the government if the government is physically irresponsible. The banks will not do that. They would like to protect their interests. So it is now up to government to go by what they are saying and to show commitment. And that commitment to be seen in the macroeconomic numbers. And that will force the banks to also pursue policies or strategies that will support. If the government is not able to do that, the banks will take the risk-averse position and just take moderate risk, protecting their interest and their depositors' funds.
All right. Dr. Amoah, please ask you to hold on for me and later get your reaction as we do this story. And we understand that Bank of Ghana has reminded banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions, and the public that persons who have been directly implicated in the 2017-2019 financial sector cleanup and all previous directors of failed banks do not qualify to hold key positions under the fit and proper persons criteria. This was a notice to banks, SDIs, and the public. More in this report.
The financial sector reminded all and sundry that poor corporate governance contributed significantly to excessive and imprudent risk-taking in the financial sector, which led to the failure of some regulated financial institutions licensed by the central bank, consequently necessitating the 2017-29 banking sector cleanup. Additionally, in order to sustain the gains made from the cleanup, the Bank of Ghana issued the Corporate Governance Directive in 2018, as well as the Fit and Proper Persons Directive in 2019 to strengthen and embed sound corporate governance practices in RFS and to entrench the gatekeeping role of the regulator in the financial sector. To enhance governance disclosure practices by RFIs, the Bank of Ghana further issued the Corporate Governance Disclosure Directive in 2022 to convey its regulatory expectations under Pillar 3 of the Basel Capital Accord relating to regulatory and public disclosures. The central bank recapped that significant shareholder, directors, and key management personnel in their oversight and management functions shall at all times be of good repute and possess significant knowledge, skills, and experience to perform duties in line with the dictate of the Fit and Proper Persons Directive 2019.
So you heard the notice given to banks and, of course, SDIs. Your quick take on that, sir?
The question is this part of normal, public education, or the Bank of Ghana has picked some intelligence that some individuals who were found culpable in the banking sector cleanup are attempting to either to be employed or to play some level of significant, decisions in the banking sector. If you go through Act 2016 at 930, Bank and Specialized Deposit Institutions Act, Section 56, 57, 58, 59, 60 clearly states what directors and key management personnel can do. Again, it talks about what Bank of Ghana can do if these individuals are found to be unfit for the purpose of providing leadership and governance for the financial institutions. So if it is the case that these individuals who were found culpable, it's really as per the Act and the Fit and Proper Directive, the Bank of Ghana is doing the right thing to remind the public and to remind these individuals, assuming they are attempting to assume some leadership roles or will assume some leadership roles in the future, that the Act says that no, you can't, based on what you have done previously when you had that privileged position of being a significant shareholder, a director, or a senior management personnel. So it is just a matter of the Act and probably a reminder to the public that this are our stand as far as Bank of Ghana is concerned in relation to these sensitive positioned individuals.
Well, some have argued that it's been 6 years on since the cleanup exercise was carried out in the sector. We've still not heard or seen persons prosecuted yet. So businesses, having given them this notification, really, they see nothing wrong with it.
You see, the issues, I believe, at low court and the central bank, and even before these banks went under the water in the course of their licenses being revoked, the directors and the key management personnel, I'm sure they know. Because if you are applying for directorship from Bank of Ghana, I strongly believe that your duties and responsibilities will be spelled out to you. And the conditions under which you will lose that privileged position will also be spelled out to you. So it is not the case that the issues at court have not been resolved. Whether they are resolved or not, so long as the license has been revoked, and it is the case that you have been found to be unfit based on the actions that led to the revocation of the license, clearly these individuals are aware that they are, for the time being, unfit to hold some of these privileged positions that we have as far as the regulated financial institutions are concerned. So it is not the case that we are yet to come to the finality of these concerns in court. It is just what the law says that is being applied.
Very well. Thank you so much, sir. We'd like to end the conversation here. Of course, subsequently, we shall engage you on other matters. Grateful for speaking to us. Benjamin Amoa is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, speaking to us there. You're still watching Business Live. We are back with more. Please stay. Hello, welcome back. This is still Business Live. Absa Bank Ghana has appointed former EcoBank boss for Liberia, Dr. Edward Boche, as new managing director of the bank. The announcement was contained in a statement issued by the bank. George Yafe has more.
Absa Bank in the statement announced that his appointment took effect from July 10, 2024, and is taken over from Adol Pega, who has been the interim managing director during the transition period. Dr. Boche at EcoBank held several positions, including regional consumer head, Anglophone West Africa comprising Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. He was also the regional chief finance officer for the Anglophone area. Dr. Edward Boche is also an accomplished banker with over 20 years of diverse experience in business leadership, finance strategy, operational efficiency, and performance management. He holds a doctorate in business administration and a master's in applied business research from the Swiss Business School, Zurich, Switzerland, as well as postgraduate degree in contemporary management from the Nobel International School, Accra, and a Bachelor of Arts in Economics from the University of Ghana, Lagos. The board chairperson of Absa Bank Ghana, Madam Frances Edumante, praised the appointment of Dr. Eddie Boche, saying he will bring his vast experience to bear and lead the bank to achieve its strategic ambitions.
More within the financial space, and financial literacy is a key initiative embraced by the government to ensure inclusive growth among the populace. The executive director at the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, Yao Jemfi, emphasized its importance for improving savings and investments for both individuals and institutions. He was speaking at the launch of GIZ's financial literacy and education program here in Accra.
Only 32% of Ghanaians know enough about finances to make good decisions about financial products and services. To fix this, the financial industry has launched a financial literacy campaign on the theme Enhancing Financial Education to Promote Inclusion. Yao Jemfi, Executive Director at the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, explained why this campaign is important.
Over the years, what we've seen is that a lot of the things that start very well do not end well, especially some of these businesses. And we've seen that financial literacy was one of the challenges that they were confronting themselves with. In other words, they had challenges that could be addressed, but nobody was talking to them about it. So we just want to find the opportunity to talk to them and educate them on certain lines of managing your finances, from budgeting to attracting loans and then getting investment into your business, so that they will know they pick some pieces and then make sure they add it to their business.
Govt Kujo, the head of the credit reporting unit at the Bank of Ghana's Financial Stability Department, urged customers to be vigilant.
And so we have a responsibility as customers of the bank to protect ourselves. And like I mentioned, you protect your PIN, you make sure that when you are dealing with the bank, you are dealing with the right representative of the bank. And so you don't go to a banking hall and you give your money to the security man to deposit. Or you don't give your money to the teller and then say you are going back, the teller should deposit, will come back. These are human beings and business, and anything can happen. So let's go through the proper processes when we are dealing with our institutions.
Patience Akoboham of the Financial Sector Division at the Finance Ministry was optimistic about the impact of market engagement with customers.
We had experts come to speak to them and try to let them understand the need for financial education, particularly on savings, particularly on retirement, particularly on insurance. And throughout, our engagement, we realized that insurance was the lowest patronized financial product amongst them. And so we needed to work on that to let them understand why. And some of them, so one of the challenges they told us they faced was that when they have had issues, resolving them was an issue. It took a number of years, or issue of delay. So basically, they wouldn't budge. They wouldn't. But we were successful at some point.
The financial literacy campaign was organized in partnership with GIZ and funded by the German government.
And the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, have signed a memorandum of understanding to conduct the 2025 Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey. According to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobnenim, this research will aid in decision-making to improve the general well-being of the populace. More in this report.
The 2025 MICS will provide data on a wide range of topics including child protection, food insecurity experiences, clean fuels, and technology. The survey will also provide data on 267 indicators, including 33 indicators for the Sustainable Development Goals and data for decision-making and for monitoring progress towards achieving other national and international development agendas and policy targets. Professor Samuel Kobnenim is the government statistician.
So what I mean by preparedness operational sides of things includes issues of what should be the scope of the issues that we want to investigate. We've broadly given you some indicators. As was rightly indicated, we're going to set up a steering committee, set up a technical committee, and then finally agree on the scope of issues that will go into that. That would have implications on the budget that we need to undertake this exercise. Jointly, once we've agreed on the scope and agreed on the tentative or indicative budget, then we have a resource mobilization strategies. Both institutions have been thinking about this for some time now. We have a sense of what our limits are, but as to whether they will match the scope of the work is something that this MOU would allow us to do.
Representative Officer of UNICEF, Mr. Fiakra Makase, called on government to support the collaboration in order to achieve the desired result.
Since 1995, the Ghana Statistical Service and UNICEF have jointly conducted 4 cycles of the mix. The data from these previous cycles have informed several critical analyses, such as the Ghana's multi-dimensional child poverty analysis, secondary analyses across education, health and nutrition and child protection sectors, several sectoral strategies, and of course the medium-term national development policy framework.
Thanks so much for being part of Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, feel free to log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.